Okay, folks, here we are once again for part one. There might only be a part one, but that's if we don't get disconnected. Otherwise, and almost got me. And bam, done. All right, flipped correctly. So, there might only be a part one if, in which case I'll just change, for later viewing, I'll just change the name of the video and delete the part one part, but it seems like I'm getting disconnected. Well, yesterday it wasn't too bad. It was only one time. So that's not too bad. We can deal with that. So, anyhow, I'm back again to some more Amorite painting. And what did we do yesterday? We got 3 done. So we have a total of these auxilia. Let's see. They're over here, so I need to move it that way. Nope, still did it wrong. Okay. Got 4 done so far, 2 left to go. So that's what we're going to do next, and then we can do the skirts and all that kind of stuff. So they still look pretty similar. When I'm done, I may go and change their skin tones a little bit. But anyhow, we're just kind of hanging out and painting away. Like I said, hopefully we don't get disconnected. All right. Let's see if any of this paint is still alive. No point in remixing this stuff. We don't have to. All right, we're gonna keep scooting out of this area. Some of that, and this, and this. See if we can. There we go. Uh-oh. We have a visitor. Well, I should join you for a wee while. Good evening. Good evening to you, Harvey. I know you were involved in that question. I believe it was you. About that whole light horse contacting a Saloy as a group. That, I don't know when I'm going to get it done, but I'm going to do a series of videos that I need to put out to people and find out what exactly is going on. There's a couple things that have come up rule-wise in the last 2 months that really have me disturbed. Both of them have... Well, let me start off saying, when we end up playing something one way, it's almost always a conservative estimation, which basically means you can always do the conservative things, but there are some really ultra-liberal, not necessarily in the spirit of the game, that way that people have played, and I want to bring them up to the people on the FAQ and hopefully get them answered. Now, based on their track record in the last 2 years, I'm probably not going to get any traction. And hopefully we don't have a split jury. I honestly don't have a horse in the race. I don't care one way or another. But I'm concerned that I'm the one making a bunch of videos. I'm the one doing the heavy lifting and potentially teaching new people. I don't necessarily want to be teaching a way that a year from now it's going to be like, oh, well, that's not how you do it. Well, then speak the hell up and tell me how to do it. Or we're going to lead more people astray. But I don't want to just take a few people's words on rules, especially people that have no experience playing games. I'm not saying you're one of them, but when you post something on a forum where everybody has, I believe in a representative system of of gamers. Not everybody's has the same weight, Not everybody's word is worth the same. That's the problem with the internet. The internet is great for us to communicate with each other, but not everybody's opinion is worth the same. It just isn't. It would be like, if it did, then you could just come off the street and practice law in a courtroom. So it doesn't mean that we don't get things wrong, but I'm going to make a video. I don't know when it'll be. but because I don't want it to impact our gameplay. But yeah, how do you define towards? The way we've always defined it is, I don't really want to turn this into a game's rules thing, but we're here, and it's actually got me kind of fired up, because it's like people just haphazardly cause problems, and then they're not there to clean it up. I'm the one that has to answer, well, you got this wrong 2 years ago. Well, that wasn't the interpretation. I mean, I don't have an agenda. I'm fine playing it either way. I just don't want to say, well, a couple people on the forum said that it should be this way, so let me retrain everybody, do videos, and then come to find out, well, that's not the case either, and who's running around going crazy? Me, So I don't care which way it is. I've never seen it played. And that's when it comes down to, not everybody has the same value. Other people have never even played a game. Other people I've seen them getting into arguments about the game, and they've never even played a game. You're just some nerd burglar that reads the rules. The rest of us have played thousands of games, regardless of whether or not we played them correctly. But we've run games at shows where these things would have come up, with actual players, not theoretical people. So the situation is, let's see if we can use some elements here that are, and I'll tell you where I'm coming from. All right. It was light horse in this example, but these will just be knights. It doesn't really matter. Let's get this stuff out of the way. Might as well use these guys in a video since they haven't been in one. Okay. So the situation is, and actually I've got to do a better job of this. Let's try to get this up so you can see. Okay. So here's a situation that was presented. You have a Saloy here, and you have a group of, it was light horse in the example. All right. And this guy was asking, a single unit conforms to a group. Well, not always. If it's completely in bad going, it does not. But that's not the example. That's certainly the exception to the rule. Okay? And he was saying that, can this group just move forward, and when it hits here, when it hits that particular unit, he conforms like this. Well, yeah, that's all. I think everybody pretty much agrees that that's what the case is. The problem is you cannot ignore his threat zone. Okay? Now let me get an actual 40 by 40. And I don't know when I'm going to make this video, because stuff like this impedes me finishing things, which is really what I want to do. Some people get a thrill out of reading rules. I get a thrill out of finishing things. And okay, here's a threat zone, right? Okay, so this guy has a threat zone like this. Okay, that's obviously in the way of that unit. And in doing so, the way I've never seen anybody allow this, because they're saying, okay, well, he's moving towards it. Well, yeah, as soon as you enter like this, once you enter this line here, this corner, the way I've always seen it play, can never go further this way. He needs to make the shortest trip there. So if you are already, say this group is here, and the Saloy comes over and locks this guy down so that the threat zone is like this. Okay? And it's this guy's turn. The only thing he can do, the way I've always seen it played, is you can't keep going this way. Okay? You can't keep, I'm going to move him out of the way, but there's other guys here. You can't keep going that way because a couple of things. Let's say this is part of another unit that's here. Now, yeah, you're moving towards, you're locking another unit down, you're exposing the flank here to this element. The only thing you can do is move towards contact with this unit. And moving towards is, if you keep going this way, you're getting farther away here. These corners are getting farther away. All you can do is rotate like this and then go forward. Now, you don't have to go all the way in, but once you're locked in like this, you have to react specifically to that. Always seen it played that way. If other people play that way, well, I've never seen it. And I've been to, I don't know, 20, 30 conventions. I'm fine with it being a different way, but prove it to me, you know? Because I'm not going to redo my entire world based on hearsay. Okay? So that's one thing that's in the video. I'm going to give away my whole video. But it's a huge deal. Okay? Now, the thing is the way we play, you can always play that way even if you accept the other one. But that's just extremely liberal interpretation. Take, for instance, that you had something like this. Okay? And let's say there was another unit. Say it was another skirmisher here. It doesn't really matter what other unit it is. I wanted to use a skirmisher because they're kind of weak. Okay? He's not locked down. Well, let's get it in the picture here. Okay. This one's not locked down. If you allow this group to continue moving here, you'll eventually lock this guy down. Because the fact that you threw this guy here to lock him down keeps this guy safe. If you just say, well, we're just going to keep moving forward until this corner hits here, and then we'll slide over, and then can go, you know, you just open up all kinds of problems that are unforeseen. If people want to play that way, well, I want an official ruling on it, or we're not going to change how we're going to do it. Because you just, you know, you create all this kind of chaos, you know. That's a huge deal. That's a huge deal. It just doesn't make it. What if you had, okay? What if you had this group like this, all right? Here's your threat zone. You got this guy locked down like here. It's difficult for me to see because of my angle. Maybe I should jack up my chair a little bit more. Okay. These guys are here. This Saloy comes down and locks this guy down. Okay? Got all that in the picture? Okay, good. Locks that guy down. You know, now you got a group here. Let's just get rid of him. It's easier to move one guy. You're going to move towards, right? What's to keep him from just saying, I'm going to move towards till my front corner contacts there? That's stupid. You know? That makes no sense. That makes no sense. I mean, I can see this thing, maybe. You come in and you hit and he conforms. I can't see a situation where if this guy comes in and locks this guy down, this guy is able to, or I mean, it could be an example like this. This guy's able just to go all the way and say, you know what, I'm going to hit him like this. You're exposing your whole flank. It makes no sense that you don't have to. I mean, you can always go back. You can always not move. But you have to, once this corner is locked down, you have to move towards, you know, you can't keep going that direction. That's the protect. You just have all kinds of unintended consequences. Okay, so that is a huge deal. The other thing that's a huge deal is some people claim, since I'm going to spill all the beans here, some people claim that, and some of you in other parts of the world may play this way. I have never seen this. Now, a disservice that I may have is that I've actually played other versions of the rules, and of course the problem with that is I have to unlearn other things, but I'm going to have to change the title of this. We're talking so much about rules. When you're contacting a unit, you have to contact them like this or like this. So in other words, head on, providing an overlap. Some people claim that you can just arbitrarily contact the side like that and not go into combat. And I'm fine with that if that's how people play, but that's pretty liberal interpretation. As a matter of fact, I can think of a game, for instance, where I was, say, these guys here. I didn't have knights, but let's do something weaker. So let's say we've got two heavy foot here, and we have a skirmisher that's back here. Okay, these are exactly 40 millimeters from each other. Okay, and he was further than 40. Okay. So these are 40. There's exactly a threat zone in here. Okay. And he's lined up. And I'm the knight player. And I want to go and contact the Saloy. And I did not allow, oh, hold on a second. Let's do this a little bit different. And I did not allow myself to contact the Saloy because I wasn't allowing myself to move through this movement like that because there wasn't any frontal combat involved. So, you're perhaps the rules lawyer. Start with WRG fourth and play tested Phil's draft DBA rules before they were published. Yeah. So, I don't have a horse in this race. I don't care. I just don't want to change every single thing that we do without agreement that that's how we're all going to play forward. Otherwise, we'll just keep playing the way we are, you know. But, you know, I'm not really interested in getting into arguments on my videos. Not that it's happened yet, because I'll just freaking silence people. Not because, you know, because there's just some people out there that are just, you know, want to cause trouble. And, you know, this is an entertainment for me. And, you know, if you want me to stop making videos, make it really difficult. Make it not a positive experience for me. I just won't make videos. So, those two situations I want to put in a video with Mitch, just succinctly, because you can explain round and round in circles. You know, if you guys run Fanaticus, people bring things up and they go round and round for weeks. I don't have time for that, okay? I don't create emails that generate 2,400 other emails. I'm like, okay, here's what it is. Yes or no, you know? So anyhow, and like I said, I don't necessarily care which way it is. I just would like to have some consistency, you know? And you can say whatever it is that we play, but we play consistent. So you guys play a different way, that's fine. But, you know, both of those things are pretty extreme. When you can have a situation where, you know, you can have a couple of, you know, you could have a couple of Saloy here that, let's say they're on opposite. Well, let's make them different. Here we go. That way they don't get along. Okay? And you can just say, well, I don't want that Saloy going over that way. I'm going to come over here and lock them down and not even go into close combat. Like, that's pretty extreme. You know, we allow that you touch after he's already in combat with somebody, and then you provide an overlap. I get that. But just by itself? So, I don't care either way. I just want us to all be consistent, or we're just, you know, as I've said it before, I make videos. This is how we play. If you guys play a different way, that's cool. I don't care. I'm not here to control people. You know, I'm very libertarian in my outlook on stuff. It's not that the way all of us do it. We play by how our local groups interpret rules. Like you, I play for my enjoyment. Yeah, I don't care. You know, and the problem is you have an author that's not involved in it. Now, you know, in his defense, he probably has been involved in it for a long time and got tired of arguments, and you guys figure it out. But, you know, the last couple things I brought up to the fact group basically ended up in a hung jury. So I basically, at that point, I'm like, well, okay, well, we got to keep moving forward playing games. We can't just wait around until they make a decision. And, you know, and they got another person that likes to answer questions, and instead of answering the question, they create other questions. And I'm like, you know, we just want to move forward, you know? So, you make sense. I'm still play two. You know, and a lot of it, my interpretations are because I've played 700 games or so of 2.2. And more game, and also, I don't know, 500 games of 2.2 plus, which is basically the same thing. A lot of the interpretations are the same, you know, but that seems pretty liberal interpretation. You know, I don't have a problem with it. I mean, if that's how we're going to play, well, okay, that's what the rules say, but anyhow, getting tired of that kind of stuff. So, like I said, one step closer to making my own rules, as I like to say. I'm not going to let that discourage me, because you know what? Because one day if I decide to say, you know what, I'm tired of this BS, I'm just going to play my own DBA rules, whatever the hell they may be called. The army lists are still based on 3.0. So the thing that's a waste of time isn't relearning how to play the game. It's rebuilding your armies. So that's not happening, okay? And I'll guarantee that I'll be playing this stuff until, you know, I can't play anymore, you know, for whatever reason. So I'm not discouraged from, like, I'm not going to build any more armies, okay? That's not happening. I may just, you know, say, you know what? If we have this kind of, if we can't even agree on this, then we'll do something different, you know. But you still got to buy 3.0. Phil still gets his money. You know, my rules would be free. Not, hey, let's charge for my rules. And oh, by the way, let's take all of Phil's Army List work that he did, but then not give him credit for any of it. That's just so freaking wrong. That's just so wrong. I'm not going to mention any names, but there's several rules that have done that. And it doesn't sit well with me. You know, and it's not like it's not like Phil's family or anything. It's just you don't do shit like that, you know? Just like when you go to a parking lot and you're waiting for somebody to come out of the parking spot, you know, you don't take his parking spot. You know, it's obvious whose parking spot it was, you know? Rules lawyers have always put me off no matter what the rules say. Yeah. Yeah, they got small penises. That's right, I said it. It's my channel. Tony, you mentioned you had a name in mind for your own rule set. Are you willing to share it, or is it confidential? Not going to go there. Not going to go there because it gets stolen from me. True story, okay? If you knew, I don't use my email address much anymore. But 20 years ago, when we were creating our own World War II skirmish set, I knew exactly what I wanted to name the rule set. So I changed my email address to that. And 4 years later, somebody created a rule set with that name. And it pissed me off. So I'm like, nope, not going to disclose it. And you know what? One of the things that worry about me, and Rick, you may have thought about this already because you're working on your own rule set. One of the things that worries me about, say, I come up with my own rule set, I don't want to charge for it. I have no interest in charging for it. And it's not because I'm a communist or anything. It just, you know, it's my way of giving back, you know. And it's going to pull from different sources. And I don't mind admitting that, but they also should get the credit for it. But I also want to make sure that it's copyrighted in a way that somebody can't say, well, Tony may not charge for it, but I'm going to change it to ABCD and then I'll sell it because, you know, I'll have to hunt that person down. So I don't know how you go about doing, you know, copywriting something, but then not charging for it. I don't know. That's just a world I don't know anything about. See, I don't, as I like to say, you know, laws weren't made for me. I know how to behave. You know, I know how to behave around other people, what the right thing is to do. You don't need to create laws for stuff like that. Just be a decent human being, you know? You played 4 games today. I found watching your videos was a great help in interpreting the rules. Calm down, dude. You're doing a great job. More caffeine. I am calm. It's just, there's lots of people, you know, the internet is great, but not everybody deserves a voice. And what I mean by that is there's people out there just cause trouble. And I'm not saying that I'm probably the most experienced person playing it, but I'm not a rules lawyer person. So I just want to have fun playing games, laugh about it, make funny jokes about, you know, whoever these guys are, and paint more. Okay, I'm gonna get things wrong. It happens. Okay, but somebody who's just off the street and never played a game and all of a sudden they're an expert, I don't really care what they have to say. You know, you haven't even played one game, dude. So, say no one knows the system better than Tony except maybe the author. I'd say Tony knows the game he plays. It builds fast. Go Tony. Yeah, well, I'm going to get things wrong. I've said this before. I think that we appreciate the game more than the author does because we try to get every single thing you can out of the rules. And if something's broken, I'm not a fan of living, breathing documents, okay? Bad things can happen with that. But you're not going to catch everything. And especially when it gets abbreviated to the point of where everything needs to be broken down into a sentence. I don't think the DBA is a badly explained set of rules. I just think that things only being mentioned once, it's very difficult sometimes to find this stuff. But I think Phil just hasn't played I've played Phil one time. I made him at one convention. He's a nice guy. He's like a grandfather I never had because I never met any of my grandfathers, you know, any of my, by birth. And but he just lines his troops up and just moves forward, and that's how he wants to play, and that's cool. But you're not going to experience all the weirdisms in the game, like when you do two armies that are both littorally landing. You're not going to encounter that kind of stuff by just moving your troops forward and hitting at 90-degree angles or 180-degree angles from each other, you know? You know exactly what I mean. I'm a big fear of mine. I'm paranoid already. It's just, yeah, because I've posted multiple videos of playing Dicey Depths. People have asked for the rules, and I don't want to charge for them either. But like you said, they aren't copywritten, so I've given up free PDFs of the rules. Well, just get the names of the people that did it, and then you and I will go around in a pickup truck or a Bronco and, you know, and pay them back. You are from Nebraska. Act like it. I'd hate to see those rules under a different name. Yeah, I could totally see that being a problem. Or even the same name up for sale. Yeah, I don't want to sell them. Yeah. Anyhow. So, to be continued. To be continued. Yeah, there's some people that just don't want to learn how to play the game differently. And I'm fine with, hey, I think it's a challenge as long as both people are playing by the same set of rules. But I don't want to have to retrain everybody. You know what I mean? Because guess who gets to do that? Me. You know? So, as a matter of fact, I haven't done any gaming with my, in 3 weeks now? Because I need to get these guys done. That's priority. That's priority, getting these guys done. So, there's my there's my Thursday rant. So I suspect we'll make the videos, and we probably won't come to a conclusion. So we'll just keep playing the way we are, you know. So I've looked for other rule sets, but they just don't cut it. I mean, at that point, you know, as much of a as difficult as it's been to learn this set of rules, you know, to learn another one, I would just rather just come up with my own. Just like take whatever this is. You know, everything that works in it, which is 90% of it, and then just go to something else. And you still have to use the DBA rule set. That's still the same army list. That's what people don't want. People don't want to, you know, rebuild their armies. I don't blame them, you know. That's what takes a long time. It could take a couple play sessions to learn how to play a new set of rules. It's going to take thousands of hours to rebuild armies. Nobody wants to do that. We all have limited time, so. You know, my whole purpose in filming our videos to begin with, other than it's fun, is I don't want this rule set to die. I don't want to be, you know, have all this stuff and then nobody to play with. That's really the whole thing. I don't want to be famous. I don't want to make any money. I'm not interested in that. I don't want Phil to pat me on the back saying, man, you're doing a lot of good videos. I don't care. I just don't want this game to die because I understand the way this game is written, you're not going to get new players because it is just very... It is just... I would pick it up and I'd say, screw this and put it down. You know, you need to show people how much of an awesome game this is that you can have. Is it perfect? No. Is it totally realistic? Probably not. But it's fun. It's a fun game. It's challenging. It's certainly that. It's pronounced... Is it pronounced Celtic or Celtic? Oh boy. Peter, there you are. I don't know. Why don't you just call them Gauls? I don't know. Is it Macedonian or Macedonian? Is it Seleucid or Seleucid? Is it Sassanids or Sassanians? Make it stop. But it's definitely Byzantine. I'm not calling them Byzantine. Sorry. Sorry to you people in the UK. I can't do it. I've said it before. I like UK spelling, but I like American pronunciation. I don't mind you adding the U and armor and color. It looks better. But a group of gamers started to play two different rule sets, both from playing. Guess what? The game's gotten confused because players mixed up the entire rule sets. FFS. Yeah. Anyhow. Nothing's perfect. Well, skirmishers should be able to shoot at a distance. Light horse should behave differently than they do in this game. I've just kind of accepted it, you know. It's funny how different an army, say like the Mongols, is in Armati versus how it is in DBA. It's night and day. It is not a night and day difference. And Armati has its problems too. Armati has bigger problems. You set up wrong, and like, well, you just lost the game. Well, what's the fun in that? You know? I played it 3 or 4 times, enough to realize that that's a problem. When I think of Celtic knots, I think Kel. But the Boston Celtics, I think, sell. Yeah. There you go. There you have it. Or wise Pittsburgh said spelled the way it is and said Pittsburgh. If it's not Edinburgh, it's Edinburgh. I don't know. There's a million examples like that. All right. Well, look at the bright side. We didn't get disconnected. Anything's better than that. So anyhow, we'll see when I get around to doing that. And again, it won't be a video that I'm gonna release to the public. It's gonna be a private video that the people that are the movers and the shakers, I'll get their interpretation on it. Because, you know, I don't want Frankie that just showed up and, you know, he's read the rules once to weigh in. I don't care what he has to say. He's not going to be running any games, you know. RRR was use statements on skirmishers being different. Yeah, well, the problem with RRR was done for a couple things. First of all, I really wanted to play Renaissance Spanish, which I never really got a chance to do, so to speak. So I started working on this rule set, and the caveat was that we didn't want any units that were different in DBA to be different in that. And in doing so, I couldn't just call them Soloi, because, first of all, I don't like the fact that they're called Soloi. It's fine if you're playing like Greek armies or something like that, but, you know, talking about, you know, Mongol Soloi is a little stupid. But the so I had to create another class, but that rule set was done with a couple problems. The first problem was everybody that was involved in it had a different period that they were interested in. I think it's just trying to cover too big an area. You know, it's trying to cover everything from 1500 to 1699 in the same rule set. And I don't think it works. If I was to do it again, and I really don't have any interest in doing it, it's just too much work, I would just basically do 1500 to 1599, you know, and that's because that's really the period that I'm interested in. I don't care about the English Civil War stuff, and, you know, but, you know, make the stuff so it works for that kind of thing, and I would just go about it totally different. I think that it is very difficult to make a rule set that is good, plays well, and then yet the whole points, the buying points and the value of everything is perfect. I think it's impossible, honestly. You know, you're going to find somebody that are mini-maxers and it'll be like, well, I'd never take knights, I'd always take pistols because of this, that, and the other, and they just, you know, play them. I'd be just better to say, okay, here's Here's some examples of some army list. Here's how all the individual pieces behave in relation to each other. And then you decide how you want to make you put the armies together. But this whole tournament of everybody show up with 12 armies. Like if I was going to do, I would be fine with DBA being a game where you had anywhere between 9 and 15 elements, and they aren't, the fact that, all 12 elements aren't necessarily, equal to each other. It depends on which ones they have, and it depends on the situation. You think, oh, well, 12 knights is always better. Well, not if you're fighting in a forest, so there's lots of things to consider. So it's just almost better not to even consider them. And then I thought, so I've got some ideas that would probably, in my opinion, would make the standard DBA game better. I could always try them in a Renaissance game, but it's just too much. It's just too much. I'm not a rules person. Do I want to play the rules, by them? Sure. Do I have a problem? Some people how can you play in your own tournament? Well, how can you not? Do you have that much of a moral? Is your moral compass that crooked? You're playing a game. Just be consistent how you play it every time. It doesn't really matter whether you win or lose as long as you get to push your little men around. And nobody breaks them, Rick, the Glasgow football team is Celtic. Irishness, Celtic people are Celtic. And Gaelic, the C is pronounced hard as K. Mongol light horse. 1500 to 1599 has appeared. I'm interested in knowing. Yes. Well, right off the bat, I think one of the things that could be better in DBA is you make pike automatically double depth. If I was going to do Renaissance, that's the pike are 1 unit, and a tercio would be 1 unit, and a whatever would be 1 unit, and it might be a big sized unit. It might be the size of. I got all of these around. It could be this big. And no, you're not going to have 12 elements when this is one of them. But, so you're going to have some units that are like this, and you're going to have some units that are like that. Well, the first thing that comes to mind is screw this whole perfect alignment crap, because that just, so, it's just a way of experimenting with those things. But, I think the fact that the beauty that we can get together so often, except for the last 3 weeks, because I'm trying to get this stuff done, we're going to play test the living crap out of this and try to get, what I like to say, get milk out of a brick. Not just, oh, we played it a couple times and this works. When we were coming up with RRR, one of the guys was in Canada and 2 people were in Florida, but we're 6 hours away from each other and we only got together twice a year. That doesn't really work, So, James L. I think different scenarios is probably the best way of expanding DBA without breaking any mechanics, so to speak. Much as I love extra functions, love for her who she is. What? Keltoy is a Greek term too, right? In 1 hour games, put a dime in a pike and a shot on a base about as big as a DBA deep knight base. Yeah. So. And going back to Rick's question, I know what I would call. So then the other thing is I thought of was, okay, what if I started doing fantasy and then use that to. Because I'm not going to let this go, okay? I'm going to find a way sometime in my lifetime, unless I die abruptly, that we can have combat like this. Screw this forcing. If you want to conform like that, cool. But there's a way to do that. There's got to be a way to do that. There's got to be a way to, there's a unit here facing this way. Another one comes here and they hit like that and there can be combat. It is just asinine to think that there can't be. So I want to try a game that solves that. That's really the biggest wrinkle, But I don't want to do it bad enough to stop painting and work on all that crap, So I thought, well, maybe if I do like a fantasy setting, but then I got to paint fantasy guys. So we'll see. But if it was a fantasy game, I know exactly what I would call it. So, I don't know yet. Anyhow, that's my ramble for today. I've kind of messed up my dwarfs, so now I'm practicing on them with Posca pens. I have no idea what that is. You messed up on your dwarves. Just repaint. You know what I say? As the artist, you are your own worst judge. You know, it's like it doesn't. I mean, it's nice that other people like your work, but if you don't like your own work, it's a rough way forward. It really is. I get it. You know. I want to stop shy. I think we're going to have to refresh all these colors because they dried overnight and kind of died. But you know, we don't all have the same skill set. My skill set is definitely not a chess player where I'm like, I can just come up with a rule and say, well, that's not going to work because I can just see that 3 days from now this is going to happen. That's not what I have, you know. You know, you could have somebody that's that smart, but then they can't run games at tournaments because when they're playing, they're going to rule in their own favor. Well, that's just, you know, that's just a dirty lobbyist. I don't have that skill set either. I have no problem making judgments against me. You know, it's easy to be fair. Some people have a problem being fair. Can't wait to get me on jury duty again, huh? Gotten out the last couple times. First one, the guy didn't show up. The second time, they settled it out of court. Perfect. Can we all go back to keeping the economy going? I don't mind doing jury duty, but man, talk about not getting things done in not a hurry. Odd angles of attack would disadvantage one of the combatants. It could be done the way you showed it. You would have to adjust for things. Sure, you'd have to adjust for things. Other rule sets do it. It would just make the battlefield flow better and seem less abstract. It's probably the biggest problem this rule set is. It's just very abstract. You know. But like I said, I'm not doing that and then having somebody think that's a really good idea. Let me take it from them and call it something different. And you know, because there's people out there. There's people out there in this world that would do that. There's people out there that see you waiting for a parking spot, and not in this town, fortunately, but further south, and then take it and then flick you off. No, that's pistols at 30 paces, or pistols at 3 paces. You don't do stuff like that. One of the quirks with WRG rules is units deliberately pinging the corners of enemy units, especially with cavalry wedges. Yeah. Well, Armati does it somehow. That's one of the rules that does it, and so does I had the rule set. Impetus does it. You know, and then there's a difference of, you know, okay, so you can't hit like this, but you can at least hit like this. This rule set's like you either hit like this or not at all. Like, okay, why don't you just play on a freaking grid then? You know? Anyhow, food for thought. Food for thought. But like I said, I'm not doing any of that crap if it cuts into my painting. And I finally realized, you know, it's, you know, I'm gonna paint these army lists for, I don't know what forever, but for the foreseeable future. So, you know, 20 years from now, I get tired of this crap and come up with something else, I'll still use these army lists. I mean, unless Phil comes up with a DBA4, which I don't see that happening. And if it's better, you know, but there's a lot of dishonesty kind of stuff that goes on. I mean, Art de la Guerre. Somebody gave me a copy of Art de la Guerre. If you're happy playing Art de la Guerre, by all means play Art de la Guerre. But somebody's like, here, here's this set of the rules. And I'm like, well, man, I was going to buy it. I'm glad I didn't, because the army lists are totally ripped from DBMM. I mean, he even has, they even put the special generals that are in DBMM in the same armies with the same names of the guys. I'm like, and then doesn't reference DBA at all. People say, well, if you reference DBA, then it'd be copyright infringement. No, it's called giving people freaking credit. And then don't charge for the freaking rules. I don't know. Morality lessons on Thursday night, I guess. Phil won't last long, dude. 2.0. Yeah. I don't blame him for stepping away. I mean, if you got to argue with stuff, ultimately it's his rule set. He can do whatever the hell he wants. I just wish he could have understood that it's like, listen, you got some really good ideas. And he really does have some really good ideas. But you got to make it easier for us mortals to understand what you're saying. Because you could have the best idea in the world, but if people do not understand it and are playing it wrong, then it's not having the desired effect. Anyhow, well, at least I ain't falling asleep. Pretty much anything beats that. But you want a special rule for we got to do that. We got to do a tournament with it. We got to do a tournament one time. It sounds so ugly. It's just a way you could consistently play the same army that you spent a long time building over and over again. I mean, I'm competitive in every game. It doesn't need to be a tournament where you win something, but anyhow, we'll use the word tournament. Be interesting to play a tournament where you have to play a crappy general and a good one. And when they face off each other, a good one plays just like the regular game. But a crappy one has to play blind general. That would be interesting to see how they compare to each other. One guy has to play not knowing what he rolled for pips until he tries to use them, and then the other guy plays the game normally. But we'll see. We'll see when I get around to making that video, showing it to the big wigs. See if they have any kind of a reaction whatsoever. See if some of them talk out of both sides of their mouth, which of course is one of my biggest pet peeve. And say, oh no, that's not what I meant. To the gallows with you. And see if we need to change how we do things. If not, we're just going to keep chugging along. Like I said, I don't have an agenda. It's not like, well, we got to do it Tony's way. No. If we're going to change it, let's think about it and make sure that, I'm up for the added challenge of playing a different way, but make sure that that's exactly what, take everything into consideration, because we don't want to do that for a month and then come back and, we need to go back to the other method. The saying that I coined, I'm sure somebody has probably said it before. I've never heard anybody say it before, is just because you don't value my time doesn't mean I don't value my time. So I could see people would have high demands on Phil. Honestly, some reference sheets and a couple tweaks would be nice, but it's still close to perfect. It's close. Most of it's there. I think the game would be better if he played it more. Or if he played different armies. That's one of the things that we like to do is when, we'll finish an army, somebody will play all their enemies. So that you get to see mismatched things that would normally not even worth playing because they were foregone conclusions. And those are sometimes some of the more fun games, especially when the obvious underdog wins. So, like the time that Mitch was playing his early polls, it's not on film, right? So it didn't happen, right? He's played his early polls and won terrain. This was in 2.2, I think, or 2.2 plus, one of the other ones. Anyways, he got to pick exactly where he wanted all his terrain, and I got to play, and I was playing the Mongols, and I won. So I was playing in a freaking swamp of unusual size and still won. Well, thanks to the artillery piece, and he cracked some bows' heads for sure. It was death by artillery. All that, and he still doesn't like artillery. You'd think he'd learn. But, we're not testing the game by just playing Romans and Carthaginians or Greeks on Greeks or, you're playing dissimilar things that, you've got to really think outside the box to get things to work. So, they actually asked me to be on a playtest group for 3.0, and I did for like a couple weeks, and then we were playing games because we're playing a lot of games, right? It makes sense to include us, right? Every week they changed something different, so we were never learning how to play the game correctly, and it was super confusing. I'm like, listen, I'm out. Okay, I'm fine. Whatever you guys come up with, we're going to give it the 100-year game challenge. We'll play 100 games, and after 100 games, I'm sure we will both come to the same conclusion. We'll either both like it or hate it. Okay, but we're going to play 100 games of it, and play 100 games of it, and we liked it. It was better than 2.2 in every way. So, So the way to do stuff like Light Horse to improve them is you do a scenario game based around the Mongols. So when you're playing a scenario, you can put whatever rules in there you want to test some things. Not necessarily change all the rules. Let's see how it works. Play it 40 times. After 40 times, you have a pretty good idea how it works, but I've got some interesting ideas how I think I would do Light Horse, but I was going to try that in the Renaissance to try it, but I'm not going to get around to doing that. I'm not going to get around to doing that. It's just, that's a lot of painting. And the biggest problem is I got to make a decision on how big to make certain units, and I don't want to. I thought, okay, well, I'll just take all these guys. We'll play with cardboard. I'll rubber cement the figures because I got plenty of figures to do them that are unpainted. We'll just rubber cement them, and then we can get the size right. But I'm like, I don't want to figure out rules bad enough, I don't want to do it bad enough. It keeps me from painting. So anyhow, no, for Renaissance I would definitely have cohesion stuff. So I think DBA it complicates the moving and contacting too much. The contacting is way too complicated. You spend way too much time trying to figure out how to do that properly, and that time could be wasted. Could be better used making combat a little bit more in depth. Not a ton more, but 50% more. The example I use is when you're playing a naval warfare game, okay? You play a game with naval warfare, and it takes forever to try to figure out what your chance is to land a hit on another ship, and most of the time, all that time is wasted. Nobody wants to do that. That's boring for the people that are shooting the ship. That's boring for the people that are receiving fire. But if you're giving more detail to an actual hit when it lands, everybody's interested in seeing that because you could literally see it like in slow motion, kind of what's going on. But to do all that effort for a miss, that's no good. It's kind of the same way, combat could be a little bit more flavorful. Let's put it that way. Does anyone recommend DBR? I have a lot of ECW figures. I'm not going to. I'd have to play the game 100 times to figure out how to play it correctly. I just don't have it in me anymore. So. What's so wrong with coming up with a set of rules and saying, hey, listen, I got these ideas from Phil Barker. That's what I did with my Renaissance stuff. I've never had him say anything bad to me. I'm not interested in taking his money or taking his credit. The reality is, if it wasn't for Phil Barker, I wouldn't be playing Ancients and Medievals. If it wasn't for Marty playing, I wouldn't have even played this stuff. You know, just be honest with yourself. You know, can people do that anymore? You know, give credit where credit's due. You know. It's going to be the perfect rule set. No, some people don't want to play with this few figures. Well, I don't want to spend my entire life painting one army. You know? There's not just one army I want to paint. I want to paint a whole bunch of them. The only way to do that is have less figures. Or paint them more sloppily. I don't see myself doing that. But hey, not disconnected. Cool. Stop bragging about it. It's almost been an hour. You played 3 games today with Scythian. It's boring. Boring. Versus Assyrians. 45 and 41. Okay, I know what that is. Okay. Also, Scythian versus early Persians. Lost all 3. Yeah, with the Scythians. They were undefeated last time. It just doesn't... they don't play right, you know? Yeah. Enjoy Field of Glory Renaissance for you today. Never played Field of Glory Renaissance, but I've played a lot of the computer game called Pike and Shot. And I think that handles the period really well. Not for the ECW, because I haven't played it much, but for the period that I like, 1500 to... Steve, if you're still listening, if you have a computer and you have about $10 to spare, I think it was last time I checked, it was like $10. That computer game Pike and Shot is excellent. Excellent. I think it's called Pike and Shot Campaigns now. It's well worth your $10. And there's a lot of things that I would incorporate from that rule set in any Renaissance endeavor I would do. Except I would add pips. You got to have pips. You can't just move whatever you want all the time. That's the beauty of this game. That's one of the things I like the most. So definitely, Pike and Shot Campaigns is an excellent game. And it's written by Bodley Scott, who worked with Phil on 2.2 and maybe things before that. I don't know whether they split off angrily or whatever, but he's also the author of the you just mentioned it, Field of Glory stuff. I've played Field of Glory Ancients on computer. The problem with those games is I don't like the mechanism that you can do whatever you want all the time. That just reminds me of every game that I played before DBA. And honestly, that's the special part, that you can't do whatever. You've got to make tough decisions. And that's one of the things that I like about these games is that you have meaningful decisions to make every turn. Every turn you're not going to be able to do everything you want. You're going to have to prioritize what you want to do to get things done. It's not like, okay, everybody's in good order, I can do everything I want. You can't. You got to make tough decisions, and so does the other guy, and that's part of the challenge. So, okay. So we got that guy done. Let's do this guy now. I need something to drink, and I don't mean an adult beverage. Be right back. In Sydney, in cough jail. Oh boy. Question will be, are we still connected? Hallelujah. Maybe just a fluke. Oh, should have said that. Been problem at the Big Battle Square game. And playing 1 hour games, pack a shot, beautifully simple scenarios, or more crunch. Shame I'm more parliamentarian in outlook. That means you're not fun at parties. That's why the people on the Mayflower ended up here. They got kicked out of Europe because those guys weren't any fun at parties. Yeah, I say that because my ancestors didn't come on the Mayflower. We're the ones that kicked them out, probably. Did they have Puritans in Spain? Probably. We burned them all. Oh, man. In the movie, Cromwell puts away a fair amount of wine. English wine. No wonder he had a temper. Oh, man. There may be English wine. It certainly doesn't make its way over here. I don't do well with wine. I don't dislike it taste-wise. It just... it gets me all flushed. All right. Let's mix the core dark color again. And then when this guy, we start doing some sarongs or whatever the hell these guys are wearing. Man dresses, man skirts. I just can't imagine running around the battlefield barefoot. I just don't get that. It's an acquired skill, I guess. I'm just back from a session at the pub. Party time. Tabletop dancing. Combat moo-moo. Nice. That's my Irish. My Irish have those combat moo-moos. All in yellow. Those, what was it that they called them? A line? Lina? A line? Oh, I don't remember. Yeah, they have those yellow combat moo-moos. That's why I actually got excited about painting this army, because I figured, okay, my Irish army and my Courage also are very dull looking. In other words, they're not dressed fancily. And yeah, there's some of my favorite armies to play. And how they look very, they look peasantish. And, they don't have all the frills and stuff like that. And I figured maybe I'll enjoy playing these guys as well, because of the same reason. Not that I don't enjoy painting fancy armies, but it's nice for a change. Even something like the pre-feudal Scots that I've talked about doing, they would be peasantish. In other words, they're not wearing rich clothes, and a couple of guys, maybe a couple of the garments, but for the most part, they're just wearing, unbleached this, or drab colored that, or so forth. So I talked about doing a busy army and a drab army. So the last one we did, the Pope, that would definitely be a busy army, and these guys could be a little on the drab side. So the next guy would be busy, if I decide to keep that going back and forth kind of thing. But who knows? One of the things I like doing the most is, you're painting these guys and you're thinking about the next army you're going to do. You don't think about these guys. This is a foregone conclusion. We're going to finish these next. But what comes after that is just depends which way the wind blows. But I do want to think about it quite a bit, because once I make the decision, I need to stay on it. I don't want to be hopping around. This guy has like a piece of flash or something here. So we're going to take that off. Better to catch it now than later. There we go. And just for good measure, let's put some black on there. And then we'll wait a little bit to cover him with the other color. But yeah, it's a commitment. It's a commitment for at least a couple months of not being able to do something else. So skirmishing at the bar. I had a tiny port the other night and fell asleep. I'm 36. Yeah. That happens. Yeah, I don't do well with sweet things. I fall asleep too. What do you guys use as adhesive for stick painting? I don't paint on sticks, but I super glue these guys down so I can just pop them off. Finding double-sided tape easier to get off, but harder to keep on, if you get me. I just super glue my guys down, so I don't have to worry about them coming down. And then it's easy to get. You just take your X-Acto knife, get underneath one edge, and then pop them off. And then usually what's happened is you've actually created a bigger base for them to stick on, so they're a little bit more stable when you go and glue them on the stand permanently. But everybody has their favorite glues. Somebody was telling me the other day they use PVA for everything. I don't trust PVA with anything. It can glue like two halves of a flag together. That's about it. But I don't test. I don't trust white glue for anything. There's a bad track record of being able to be counted on for stuff. You know, it's not strong. If it gets wet, it loses strength, and it takes a long time to dry. It's not like it dries in 5 minutes or anything like that. So, yeah, good group of good discussions today. Thanks for coming by. Is 80 of you guys still on here? Probably bored to tears. I don't know. Maybe you're doing something else. Maybe you're doing laundry. I do that sometimes. I actually put another painter on a couple months ago when I actually had to paint a door in 1-to-1, several doors in 1-to-1 scale, meaning in my house. And I just listened to him chat about something else. So, you know, it's like when I first discovered talk radio. I would listen to that all the time because it was different every single time. But the problem with talk radio is so much of it is just politics, and you know, I'm not interested in that crap. Literally, that crap. So, so when these guys are done, that's 2 more stands of fast auxilia. That's 4 of the stands done. Then we got 5 stands. That's what we're going to roll into next. The 5 stands of fast blade. 15 of them. A couple stands of solid ox and a chariot general. I'm not building the bow general. So, you use PVA stick figures for painting. But it takes a long time to dry. I mean, you've got to like glue them today and like, okay, well, I'm not doing anything with them today. They dry overnight or whatever. That's why I don't like that material, that glue. It's like too much planning for me. Yeah, if you like it, it's fine. It's certainly inexpensive and non-toxic, and I hear it tastes good. No, I'm kidding. You know those stories you hear in elementary school, kids eating paste. Everybody hears them. I don't know why you would eat paste, but I don't know. PVA is kind of paste's cousin, isn't it? The same type of thing. Paste Eaters Anonymous. So I know I've told this story before. The last time I went in this particular store, I went and bought some clear coat that I wanted to get to seal my figures. And it was a spray can. And I knew that their policy is they needed to get a manager to check that you weren't an underage kid to buy spray paint because, you know, people get high off that stuff, which makes no sense to me whatsoever. Like, what's wrong with beer, you know? But anyhow, so the lady was helping me. It was a self-service register, but I called her over and I said, hey, listen, I'm getting some paint here. You might as well just call the manager now. And then I proceeded to tell her how I thought it was a bunch of bullcrap. And then she, all of a sudden, gave me their confession about how her child had gotten into the drugs and was huffing it and, you know, was addicted to paint and, you know, would all kinds of, like, drug abuse that she had done with that. And I'm like, let me just get out of here, you know, and PEA. No, PVA. You know what PVA is, Rick? That's what they call it. That's what the educated people in Europe call it. It's Elmer's glue. So, lots of people use this as glue for lots of different things. I use it to glue down my tufts. Fold the 2 pieces of a flag together. That's about it. I don't have a lot of confidence in it. You know, I don't care if it says extra strong formula. The problem is it just takes too long to dry. Dries fast. What, 6 hours? It says wait 35 minutes. Really? Allowed to sit overnight for full strength. Huh. Not for photos, bare metal, submerged or heated surfaces. Yeah. Good old Elmer's. Rick, you go to school with anybody who was a paste eater? You're probably young enough that on your school supply list, paste wasn't one of the things. They would always make you like buy paste. And back when I did school supplies, you bought school supplies and those are the ones that you used. I think what they've done now, at least when my daughter was in elementary school, they would buy supplies and then they went into some communal, you could tell I like that already, some communal group where other people can get it from them as well. I don't know. That was one of the things that get you to use paste. I don't know that we ever used paste that much, but you had to buy the little round thing that was like this, and it had a top on it. It was maybe 2/3 of the size of this. Had a top on it, and it had like the stick that looked like a popsicle stick in the middle of it. You could, I don't know if it had a brush or not, but you know, you could apply it that way. But it's always a story about the Billy that liked to eat paste. Well, that's like eating Play-Doh. Like, who wants to do that? Although I'll admit, Play-Doh does smell nice. Fresh Play-Doh, that's a happy smell. No, but my 6th grade teacher was convinced that all kids ate their boogers. And if we claimed we didn't, she'd call us liars. I never had the taste for boogies. Well, she's probably seen it all, right? 6th grade teachers are what, like cops? They've seen it all. I would hate to be a teacher, and I would hate to be a teacher in middle school. Oh, those little punk ass kids, they think they know it all. They don't know shit. They don't even have a job. You know, 5 foot tall with a 7-foot mouth. You know what I mean? I could tell you that was the least favorite amount of time in school for me, was that age. I hated middle school. And lockers and dressing out. There's nothing worse than doing some PE thing and then having to change back into your sweaty freaking clothes and spend the rest of your day. Nah. I mean, do it at the freaking end of the day. I don't know why they didn't do PE at the end of the day. Shop. I remember having shop in middle school. They probably don't do that now. Did you pick out your Halloween outfit yet? Hey, make sure you don't buy one of those outfits made in China, man. You got to play for the team. Get one made in Vietnam or something. What was that abandoned? Those things were always abandoned places. I know they had a Halloween shop, and it was what was it? It was an abandoned Borders. Man, I miss Borders. That was a good store. That was a good store. You at least have Halloween type weather around Halloween, the part of the world you're in. Here it could be like swamp ass weather. You know, it could be 90 degrees on Halloween. It's been that way before. Gotta go to bed. It's 2 in the morning. Okay. All right, Peter. See you tomorrow, maybe. Maybe not. Over the weekend, certainly. I'm burned out by the time Friday gets here. Especially this week. Yeah, I say that every week. Peter lives over in the part of the world where they do that Krampus festival thing around Halloween time. I think it's around Halloween time. Yeah, that wouldn't fly in any gun-toting states here in the United States. There'd be some dead things with horns for sure. Run around and scare crowds in a demonic type no, that shit ain't happening. I'm actually surprised how many people actually like horror movies. I am genuinely surprised. And I know several of them. One of the things that's been common to many of them is they'll watch horror movies, but they won't go on a roller coaster. I just don't understand that. You missed Borders. This one was a Pier 1 too. That was a cool store sometimes. It got crappy towards the end. Talking about Pier 1. I always thought you could have a heyday in there. If you like put in like an Indian restaurant, you just decorate the whole thing with just stuff you'd find in Pier 1. There's some cool stuff in there. But towards the end, not so much. I'd do Halloween if it was proper Gaelic Samhain. I'm sure it's not Samhain, it's Samhain. Okay. Favorite holidays. St. Patrick's Day, man. I've never done any. I mentioned this the other day. I've never done anything for St. Patrick's Day. Well, first of all, if it lands Monday through Friday, you're screwed. Or Monday through Thursday, you're screwed. Or Sunday. And then there's nowhere really cool here to go in town. I don't have anything against it. On the contrary. But just never done anything. Never had green beer. I know it's just regular beer with green coloring. Never had that. Never done anything really cool for Oktoberfest either. I know I'm missing out. The fun ones. Savna. Is that how you spell that? Is that how you say that? Savna. many people on here? 8. Excellent. Excellent. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Where is the white? Let's get some white out here. St. Patrick's Day. Drink gallons of Guinness. Oh. Pints of Jameson. How about that? That's better. You don't need to drink beer if there's Irish whiskey. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? I do so much better with whiskey than beer. So much better. You got to make a conscious effort to overdrink whiskey. Beer is just like, oh, I was just having 3 and, you know. Like Guinness and raspberry. Like actual raspberries? Did you just say gallons of Guinness? They're gonna find you. They're gonna find you in Europe. They're gonna come report you. You're not using proper metric fluid. You know, you can't talk about gallons anymore. You're not allowed to do that anymore. I gotta use a little boy's room. I'll be right back. Yeah, that's the problem. I guess maybe that's why I could paint for a while. Is I drink so many liquids, and I got to go to the bathroom. It forces me to get up. Raspberry cordial. Quality grenadine. Man, that sounds really sugary. Probably put me to sleep. Just a couple dashes at a pint. Okay. Strange you should mention that. I'm having a sip of Jameson right now. Good for you. Yes, you can drink too much Jameson. Drunk, because... I just do a lot better with it. I do a lot better with it than beer. Jameson. What's this one I got over here? It was on sale the other day. I got it around here somewhere. The one that fighter has. It came with a little hoodie. Oh, man. I don't know where the hell it is right now. Proper 12. It was on sale. It's not bad. Jameson. Which is the Jameson that I had that was really good? The stout. The stout barrel Jameson. That one was good. I got Japanese whiskey too. Good stuff. Of course, I like to talk about drinking it more than really drinking it. You don't get a hangover from drinking it. Hangover. I should say you'd get dehydrated. You don't get hangover. You just have to have proper hydration. Oh man, I ran out of that stuff. All right, let's mix another core batch here. I do not associate playing games, playing war games and drinking. It never was a thing. I'm not a Harbach. My war games always involve thinking and stuff like that. It never occurred to me to kind of mix the two. You know, drinking is like you're doing things you don't really want to be around. Maybe people coming over to visit that you can't stand sober. Rick, you know who I'm talking about. And, you know, being at work. But here, nah, we don't need a drink now. We're good. Easily done. You can ride javelin and chariot, though. Tonally, finally painting. I've been here. Where you been? Let's go fight some Romans. We was kangs. Oh, man. I had a friend of mine who refuses to play Romans. That was really funny. I never played Romans prior per DBA. Never would occur to me. Don't know anything about ancient warfare. All right, let's lighten this color up a little bit with a tiny little bit of white. And then we can probably move on to start doing some, what was it? Battle, I forget what you called them. Battle moo-moos. That's right. Battle moo-moos. Well, no shirt on these guys. These guys are bare-breasted. Bare-chested. Battle moo-moos. These guys are all similar but different. Okay. We're going to roll with that. All right, so we got the flesh on all 6 of these guys done. So let's move to a different part of the world here with the painting palette. And let's get some off-white colors. And we'll start off with this one right here. Bare-breasted Amorites in the morning. Yep. Tactical evening gown. Well, that's different. Gotta have some... gotta have some of those... what do you call that stuff? Velcro. Gotta have some Velcro like that. Tactical evening gown. All right, what color is this? Not that it really matters. Stone gray. Oh, far out, man. Stone. I better write this one out. The color I use for my hooves. Representation matters. Okay? What, that they're in an evening gown? All right. So, let's get some of this black right here. And some of this. And we're going to paint everything here. Now, it looks like it's not a belt. It looks like it's part of it's the same material. So we're just going to assume that that's what it is. Now, we are going to put some color on these on his skirt, whatever the hell we want to call this thing. I don't know if there's a good name for it. But it's all going to be the same color. I think last weekend or the weekend before, one of the two, I ended up giving myself a neck ache. Probably painted too much. But I've got this chair as erect as it will go to hopefully keep me from hunching back any more than I have to. Those of us in war dresses have been kept down too long. In Africa, there were militias that used to wear costume to freak out their enemies, including wedding dresses. Oh, I didn't know that. I know that they... Harvey, good night. Splendid chat with you. Enjoyed the crick. Before I pour another Jameson, I shall call it a night. Good night. Good. Thanks for coming by. Appreciate you. What was it that they did? Well, other than hire children to do fighting. Oh yeah, didn't they have like kids or whatever that they had some kids that would show up with like the fake wings from like a like butterfly wings. So that's a really interesting theme. That's a really interesting background information as a modernish type Africa warlord type thing. There's all kinds of directions you could go with that. And about 10 years ago, I thought I did paint some figures up for that, for my imagination, so to speak. But it's just too overwhelming to come up with rules. There's other rules in there, but, I don't have time for everything. So that kind of had to go, but I have these figures that in 20 millimeter, of course, 20 millimeter figures of, they're not made anymore, by kid warriors. It's like children. And what I was going to do is their little group was going to be called, they were going to be called the Serial Killers. So, one of them would be called Cocoa Puffs or Frosted Flakes or, something like that. And, Fruit Loops. They'd all have cereal names, and it would be the Serial Killers. So, and I got a little school bus that they would drive in. There'd be like the headmaster guy, like the warlord guy, kind of like if you ever, what was that movie on, I think it's a Netflix movie that came out, it's pretty decent, where, oh man, what's his name? Idris Elba plays the warlord that recruits the children. I forget what it is. It's a good movie, but it's literally these 9 to 12-year-old kids that get recruited to do fighting with, do horrible stuff. So, Lord's Resistance Army. Thank goodness some of the continent is really taking off. Yeah, but so I've got all those figures, to do that. But that's what I was gonna name. I was gonna name them Frosted Flake and Cocoa Puff, and you know, be like their little handles or whatever. But I got a little school bus. Actually, it's an ice cream truck. It's an ice cream truck that I was gonna paint up, and that's what they drive into battle with. So I had some pretty good ideas about that stuff. Maybe sometime in the future. But all the kind of fun. It's very similar to the vibe of Gaslands, that you could come up with funny names for things. And of course, I haven't done of Gasland vehicles now in a couple of years now, but those are fun too. But the game's good enough to play even without modified vehicles. And our game group, I'm the only one painting them, so I've got a few vehicles, but I've never played with them. So, but I was a member of the Gaslands group for a while since this came out on Facebook, and I don't think there's a whole lot of activity on there as much as there used to be. But people would always come with these really cool vehicles. They'd be like, "Okay, help me name them," and I'm like, "Dude, that's the first thing you do. You name it before you even come up with a vehicle. At least that's what I do, and that's part of the fun. So, but there's not time to do everything. Not right now. There isn't. So let's go to a smaller brush. Get in here and do some of this. So how long have we been on here? Now we're in 42 minutes and we're going strong. I don't know. Maybe it was just a glitch the last couple days. Well, we'll find out on Saturday morning and Sunday morning, won't we? Those are the long sessions, and hopefully we don't have to turn in those like 3 or 4 sessions. We don't want to do that. That just gets confusing. We're going to stop at 9 p.m. unless we get... See, at this point, if I get disconnected, we're done. There won't be another part. Because I'm not going to be on long enough to do it after that. We're not going to do a 20-minute session if we can avoid it. But knock on wood, it'll still be good. So let's show you what we've been working on so far. So let's highlight this up a little bit more. And not every one of these guys is going to have some trim. As a matter of fact, I may just do this guy with no trim. I'd have just finished this guy completely, just see what he looks like. Matter of fact, why don't we go ahead and do that? I'm going to go right into buff, I think is what I want to use for... Dark sand would probably work as well for a spear. I want a lighter colored spears. These things would dry out being out in the sun, I would think. That's going to be the base color for that. Let's get a little bit bigger batch in here. Let me check one thing. Aha. Aha. Okay. 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 All right. All right, let's go ahead and bring this up some. Still looking kind of gray. That's just fine. We're not there yet to the end result. So my goal, I think it's a pretty reasonable goal, is to get these 6 figures done, even without the painting, even without the basing, to get them done by Sunday morning. I think that's pretty reasonable. Because we're already getting towards the end of August. We still got 3 weeks to do, or so. Maybe 4 weeks to do everybody else in the army. And if we're short, we're short. You know, but we're going to try to give it a... That water? Rain? Like to get them done by the show, if there is one, as I like to say. Earth tones, no bright colors. We are to use to our wonderful modern ones. We are too used to, yeah. There's not going to be any bright colors on here. Very little. Very little. The main head guy may have bright colors, but you know, bright colors are expensive. So unless they're actually pillaging something, these guys are going to have very limited. And even if they had that, it's going to fade really fast in the desert. So. I remember when I painted my Romans, it was the first army that I painted a significant amount of red with. Because everything before that had been, you know, figures had been World War II figures. Well, you don't get to paint red with World War II figures. So that was kind of an interesting challenge. I don't know if it was a challenge. It was just an interesting change to paint something, you know, bright. Some of them bright. Of course, they still have parts of them that are kind of drab. Yeah, too many people paint things too bright for my taste. When Rich Goss was playing DBA with us, he was famous for saying that he used to buy really horrible looking figures on eBay, and just that were really bright and poorly painted, and he would just take them and he'd give them the dip, use the dip method, and then put some of his little sand mix, which he claimed had Fort Lauderdale sand in it. And his armies actually look pretty good. Now, Mitch has a couple of his armies that he sold because he's kind of gone into everything, into other things. Not really active playing DBA anymore, and wanted to sell some of his armies. So Mitch got a couple of them, and yeah, they look pretty good. And the dip ties them all together. So even though they might be different people that painted the original figures, the fact that they're all dipped in the same way, in the same color, really helps tie them all in together. And it actually works. So it actually works. Let's do the little... Oh, I got to be careful with these metal tips. This is bronze now. All right. I caught myself. All right. I'm going to do these like I did my Chinese guys. My terracotta warriors are also a Bronze Age army. All right, let's go over here to metal corner. Where is it? Oh, we don't have one here. Yeah, we do. It's over on this side. We're going to need this. We're going to need this. And I mean, I need to refill the water. I'm going to do some more talking. Okay, I got like 10 minutes and then we got to do family time stuff, which honestly I thought would have already happened. All right, here we go. We haven't done this in a while. So my attempt is I want to do something bronzish, but I don't want it to be this color because it doesn't look right to my eye. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to mix our own color. So it's going to have some... These are both the same color. I'm going to use some of this Iron Breaker and some of this of the bronze color from Vallejo. So that's what we're going to do. All right. So we're going to take this. This is going to be kind of an in-between color, and that's what all these weapons that these guys do. I remembered that their blade ends up being bronze. Because if you just use straight bronze, it's not going to look, it doesn't look right to me. You know, so we're just going to color the tip here. It almost looks kind of a platinum-ish, I don't know. It's enough that it looks different. You're like, hey, they didn't use iron. Oh, wait a second, that's not iron, right? Okay. Mixed all that just for that. Well, I want to do the one figure. I want to see what this guy needs complete. And just for ease sake, we're just going to go ahead and give this guy a black beard because somebody's going to have it. Might as well be this guy here. And you can see what one of these guys looks like finished up. And we're just going to lighten this up a little bit of white. I'll be lazy and just do that. You know, we're not going to seal any of these guys down until we're done with all of them. So I can take a look at it and say, you know, these two guys look too similar. Let me do something a little bit different with them. So this is complete, but possibly under review. Oh, didn't drop mine in live paint. Let's see. Where's the focal point? There you go. I can't get them in the right damn place. Typical. Man, it looks awfully yellowish there. But yeah. So there's going to be 6 figures, 3 figures on a stand, 2 stands of them, and they're all going to have the same pose, unfortunately. Well, we'll alternate them a little bit, how they look. But anyways, that's it for tonight. So we will see. We should be able to meet this goal. It's not too lofty, you know. And I'm looking forward to seeing what they look like, you know. And we'll decide who gets what kind of trimmings on their battle dress when we work towards the end and we have them all done. But anyhow, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for keeping me awake. A good 2-hour run, nearly 2 hours. And well, we'll see you guys soon. Enjoy what's left of your Thursday, and we're almost there. We've made it almost all the way to the end. Okay, folks,